Ooh, 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 WDBFradio.com. WDBFradio.com.
Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Good morning, my fellow rare bookians, and welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf. I'm your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein, and you are listening to us live on the WDBF radio networks. Got questions for me or for my guests today? Take out something to write with, take out something to write on, and copy down the phone numbers I'm going to give you. In order to reach us live on the show today, the telephone number is 888-575-4394. That's 888-575-4394. That's to reach us live on the show today. If you want to reach me personally off air, if you hear this during replays, the number you can reach me at is 305-868-5515. That's 305-868-5515. It's a landline, no text. Now, for those of you who are new and might want to recommend the program to friends, the show is replayed today, Saturday, from 4 to 6 p.m. That's all Eastern time. The show is replayed tomorrow from 8 to 10 a.m. and 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, and Monday from 1 to 3 a.m. So whether you're a day person, a night person, whatever time zone you're in, we've got a place where you can hear it, and we'd love to hear from you. So as we speak right now, the Boston Book Fair is about to open their doors. If you've never been to an antiquarian book fair, you're missing out on what could be the most, how can I say it, structured one day of learning that you could possibly get in the earliest times in your book buying, selling career. And I'm not talking about going as an exhibitor. There's many reasons to go to a book fair. If you're new in starting a business, I would say the most important benefit you will get is new names on your client list. And I'm not talking about you going, as I said, I'm not talking to you going to the fair as an exhibitor, just as a patron of the fair. If you use the Florida Antiquarian Book Dealers Association book fair that's in March in St. Petersburg, we usually have 100 plus exhibitors. So what would you walk out with? At least 100 names of dealers. And there's nothing wrong with selling to dealers. I have always called myself a dealer's dealer. You know, it's kind of my mantra from day one. I want to sell. I don't want to hold books. You know, get into the habit of not falling in love with your inventory. What you're really looking for, though, down the road is ways to find private clients so you can sell at retail to them. How do you do that? You're walking around the fair. If you have social skills, it's much easier than trying to get a date. But then again, with some book dealers, maybe not. But a book fair is one of the greatest one-day learning experiences that you can possibly do. You'll get brochures, you'll get catalogs. You know, one of the ways that I learned was constantly reading dealer catalogs. You're going to laugh when you hear this, but another great way of learning that I did religiously over many years was when the new Van Allen Bradley came out. I read it from cover to cover. It usually had a dry place in the throne room, so to speak. When Ahern's came out, it was the same thing. I'm not a reader of fiction. Maybe you are. I'm not. So I kind of learned fiction by rote. Nonfiction is another area. I think it's easy to learn nonfiction, in that sense. So, whatever you're going to be going after, look at dealers who specialize in those, get somebody a catalog, get an idea of what's going on. Whatever literature is on the publicity table, you should take with you. You never know. Um, what they're doing. You don't have time to read it all there, but it's a great place to learn. That's the bottom line. Whether it's the Boston Book Fair, the Rocky Mountain Book Fair, the California Book Fair, New York, whatever it might be, there are regional book fairs somewhere around the country almost daily. Every week there's a book fair somewhere. So when it comes to your area, make a point of trying to go to it, especially if you're starting out in the business. So we're going to do a little recapping. I haven't done that in a while. Some real fun stuff came up. It's coming up at auction. Um, the solid gold toilet is coming up in auction again. For those of you who, especially now with gold at 40, I know what is it today, Captain Hook? Do you know? 100 kilo.
4,000. It's right
How
at
much?
4,000.
Right. Thank you. Right at
I
4,000.
think 4,017 is what I saw on Friday.
Wow. Huh. Oh, yeah, today. Oh, yeah, yesterday. Duh. So the toilet itself weighs 100 kilos of 18 karat gold. They estimate it at $10 million. So if anybody has an extra 10 mil and wants to have something unique, there it is. But I'll tell you a funny story about that if you didn't hear it. When that toilet was on display, and remember, it's a functioning toilet. When that toilet was on display, people were lined up to actually use it. Over 100,000 people lined up to use that toilet while it was on exhibit. And so here's a fun question. We're going to do an impromptu trivia question. We know that here's the question. 888-575-4394 is the number to call if you have the answer to the question. And we've never disappointed anybody with a prize. Once I know who you are, I'll customize the prize for you. So here's the trivia question. We know that the solid gold toilet is going up at auction. At another auction, there's a 10.8 carat exceptional quality fancy pink diamond. How much is that going to go for? Is it more or less than the toilet? 888-575-4394. And if we don't get an answer to that question by the end of this segment, we will answer it for you. Kestenbaum Auctions. That's Kestenbaum. Kestenbaum Auctions. Doesn't matter what religion you are. If you're in the book business, you're eventually going to find Korans, old Judaica, old missals and hymnals and things like that. Most of us are not fluent in Hebrew title page, and all of that other stuff. But there's a great reference source if you go into their auction company, and that's Kestenbaum Auctions. It's also a great place. Anytime I have good Judaica, they have done very well for us in selling it. But they have a tremendous amount of printed Judaica in the current auction that when you look at what's on the listings, on the pages in the auction, you're going to see things that you're going to think you have seen at different homes in your travels, or maybe we'll see in the future. Get an idea of what's there, or you can use it as a comparison. If you're out garage sailing today, you come home with some stuff that you don't know what it is, but it's in Hebrew and somehow somebody put a pencil note in it that's from 17 something. That's something you definitely want to look at. And for those of you who aren't jewel thieves, okay, some of Napoleon's jewelry is actually being auctioned at Sotheby's in the next couple of weeks or so. Price ranges on the individual pieces 150 to 250K. And who remembers Bing Crosby? I remember Bing Crosby, and I think in my earlier years in the field, I was aware that he was an art collector, but you would have thought by now everything was sold off. Well, it's not sold off. So there's going to be an auction of Bing and what was her name? Clarice Cross, something. Their art collection is still around and going up for auction. Not that we're ever going to find them, but Petit Philippe. I love the words. I can never use it enough. Unfortunately, we never have enough chance to use it, but unknown copies. So right now, three hitherto unknown Petit Philippe pocket watches are going up at auction. Pre-auction estimate on each one is between half and $1 million. I am not a horologist, although I did belong to the National Watch and Clock Collectors Association and lectured for them one time, but not anymore. But what I'm willing to go out on a limb and say is that these will absolutely exceed the auction records. And another one that shouldn't be much of a surprise, the top 20, I love doing the top 25 auction records of the past week. It brings out the irony, when you see something like a poster for something from whatever, or no, baseball card from the 1960s goes for $2 million, and a letter by George Washington goes for 100,000. It shows up like that. If you like to see irony in history, look at the top 25 auction records, and let me tell you where you can find them. Rarebookhub.com. Copy that down. Rarebookhub.com. If you want their free newsletter, and you should want it because they have phenomenal stories and things going on. And they also have, in the recap, you get the top 25 prices at auction around the world. So the Babe Ruth rookie card went for 4.2 mil, and a leaf of a Colran was number 25 at $24,000. So, but rarebookhub.com, I can never explain this enough. And no, I don't get paid for doing it. If you're new to the book business and you are researching books for valuation, what you're going to be looking at is whatever one of your friends told you, or maybe two or three places. Adol, Via Libri, Biblio, Abe. Chances are, if you knew, you're going to go to Abe and Biblio and not know much about Adol or Via Libri, but you should know about them. What else you should know about? And again, they're free. So Addall, ADDALL.com, Addall.com. When you get there, click on the thing that says used books, fill out the forms. Vialibri.net, VIALIBRI.net. The form is easier to use on Via Libri, but Via Libri tends to have a higher quality of books than you would see on Adwell. I'm not saying you don't see $20 books on Via Libri, but not as frequently as you would on Adwell.com, ViaLibri.net, A, Biblio, etc. So now that's all dealer asking prices. It's a compendium of Adall.com is a compendium site that combines all the listings in Abe, Biblio, Via Libri, Amazon, all of those places. So if you go to Abe, I mean, it's better to go to Adall. Adall.com for a beginner is probably the best place to go. because you don't have to go to Abe. And if you only go to Abe and you want to go to Biblio, you got to open a new page, go forwards, go backwards, all that. Addall.com combines all of them in one place, and then you just have to learn how to use the site. It's not hard. If you have common sense, it's not hard to figure out who the inflated prices are, why some of the lower prices are. And if you have that kind of common sensibility, you'll see the average range in the middle. Obviously, everything in the book that you are quoting your price from to put on your book has to match up condition wise. And of course, hopefully, yours is in better condition. So that's all of those sites. RareBookHub.com is very different because the 15 million, that's 15 million with an M, auction records that they have means something that you cannot state from the other sites. What does it state? It says somewhere in the world, somebody in an auction raised their hand until they got the book at the price that you're going to see listed. So if you are one of these people that every week when we get a notice, like these are the new members in Vintage Rare and Antique Books, if you are one of those people that inherited a room full, a shelf full, a house full, and some of those books are obviously cherries. They're beautifully leather bound, or, obviously they're from the 16 or 17, early 1800s. Those are the kind of books that would require you, with a fiduciary responsibility to yourself, to make sure that you look those books up on Rare Book Hub. Now, Rare Book Hub costs, you can get it on a trial basis, you can get it on a yearly basis. I'm not sure what it is today, but it's somewhere between $1 and $2 a day. I think they raised it just above $1 a day a while ago. It doesn't mean you have to subscribe to it for the full year. Obviously, if you're in the business full time, you probably know about it already. But if you are new, it's a great site, and it's required subscription if you have what I described as the inheritance or the acquisition somehow of a few really good books or more. You might get lucky and look them up and find them on the other sites. Of course, try that first. But again, with those, you don't know if they sold it, this, that, and the other. So that's a crash course in pricing. I'm looking at the clock. We're about 1:19. I got about another minute. I forgot the most important thing. Well, we have two great guests today. One of them, Max Roback. It's the second Saturday of the month, and Max has so many things going on that we'll hear what he has to say when he comes up. But my guest after this commercial break is Andrew Nottman. I have had the pleasure of knowing Andrew's father way back in my early book dealing days on Long Island. The more I think about it, the more I realize that yes, it was him, not Ben Abramson, that bought my first Great Gatsby. And if you didn't read the post today, let me tell you, when I sold the Great Gatsby, it was a pristine copy, brilliant gilt on the title, shiny green, crimson green, great condition internally. The retail value of the book then, without a dust jacket, was $75 to about $125. With a jacket, it was $900, $1,200, So that was a very long time ago, and it brings back fond memories. Andrew is a full-time, part-time, sometimes, but very immersed in the rare book business, and he has come up with an absolutely phenomenal way of selling books, high quality books. We're going to tell you about that when we come back from these commercial words.
WDB Radio.com. BOTB.com. WDBFradio.com.
Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Welcome back, my fellow Rare Bookians. We are about to talk to Andrew Nottman, whose father I had the pleasure of knowing back in my Long Island book dealing days. Andrew is obviously got it in his genes, from childhood. And I want to talk about that. What was it like growing up as a book dealer's, a child in a book dealer's house? I think people would enjoy some of your thoughts on that. We can get to that later, but officially welcome to the show, Andrew. Andrew's come up with an idea in how to sell books that I love it. I mean, and it doesn't look like at this point in time you got any competition, but it's similar to virtual book fairs. Back in my day, we would go around the New England area and we would look for individual bookstores. And then sometimes we'd go into a place that it was called a co-op, and what it was, you rented these were pretty large bookshelves. You rented a shelf in that shop, and it worked like a co-op. Marvin Geitman's virtual book fairs, which saved the book fair industry during COVID. But now Andrew's come up with the virtual co-op store. Take it away from there, my friend.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure, and really excited to talk about the Rare Book Room. As you said, it's a website. It's online. It's the rarebookroom.com, all one word, no hyphens. And really what the Rare Book Room is it's a showcase. It's a showcase for fine and important books. And it's also a showcase for the booksellers who sell them. And the goal is really for collectors to be able to really easily go in and discover, explore, and learn about books that, maybe they didn't even know existed, right? And it's just a way to really bring the kind of the browsing experience online, right? All having, all books being offered by really well-established, trusted, credible, professional, accredited booksellers, serving across a range of specialties. So I like to call the Rare Book Room a third place. And what do I mean by that? So the Rare Book Room isn't a marketplace platform like ABE or Biblio or eBay that has millions of books from thousands of dealers, right? And you talked about Marvin Getman, right? We're not a virtual book fair like Getman's or Via Libre either, right? Which does a terrific job being a showcase for curated items. It's very event-based, right? It's very time-based.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about other people. When I go into those book fairs, I'm just like in a rush. I'm in a rush. I gotta find something, right? Because if I don't find something, or if I don't find, someone else is going to buy it, right? So it's it's a wonderful way to see books, but it's not that relaxed browsing method.
And let me say, relaxed browsing at book fairs is no such thing. Remember, years ago, the AB did a thing about the New York Book Fair, and it said, considering the amount of booths, the amount of time the fair is open, you have 4 minutes per booth. I mean, I remember at Long Island, 10-foot wide booth. John Valley, if you remember the name, Derry Dales. He would say, "Got any Derry Dales?" And that was where he was at the end of your booth already. So it's rushed. Yes, very good point.
Yeah, and the goal behind the Rare Book Room is really to give collectors an opportunity to browse. They can. We have we have advanced search capabilities. So if a collector knows exactly what they're looking for, great, we can support that, right? If a collector is really interested in a particular specialty area, like science or science fiction or what have you, right? They can browse by category, right? So we certainly support those intentional, right? Modalities, but we also have the opportunity for customers to kind of browse what are the new arrivals, right? What has come in? So Steve, you and I both go back to New York, right? So not from a Long Island, but from a New York City perspective. I remember going to the Strand Rare Book Room, right? Back when back when they had it, right? And B, when it was in a separate part of the building. And I would go 3-4 times a week, and I would just go straight to the new arrivals table, and you never knew what you were going to find, right? There was one time I picked up an inscribed Brian Gysin, first French edition, inscribed to Jonas Salk, who was the inventor of the polio vaccine. I mean, this is not exactly what I went to the shop to find, right? But it's what I discovered. And I'm trying to bring a little bit of that discovery, that exploration back to and put it in an online environment, right? And to really make that a mode for collectors, in addition to the supported search and the supported browse by categories, because those are important also.
It's rare, therarebookroom.com. Is there any other way that people can communicate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my email address is info@therarebookroom.com, or customers, collectors, dealers could go to the site. They can click on the Contact Us button, right? Or it's not a button; it's a link at the bottom of the homepage, right? And just tell us what your interests are, right? Give us your email. We'd love to hear from you. We're also coming up with a catalog in the next 3 to 5 days. So if anyone wants to get a copy of our catalog, contact us. Give us your email. Info at Red Book Room or the redbookroom.com. Click on Contact Us. And we'd be happy to send a copy of the catalog.
Whatever you do going forward, whatever you're sending out, put me on your mailing list. I will mention whatever catches my eye from week to week, and we'll have you back numerous times.
Well, that's wonderful, Steve.
I could see it happening. As you're growing, there's more things to tell. Suddenly you wound up with, the hitherto unknown copy of Audubon's Birds of America, or all right. So I got some demographic type questions.
Please.
Well, let's start out with how old is the site now?
Well, we measure it now in months. So
months.
I'd say it's like 3 to 4 months. So we're very much in the infancy stage. I like to call it the galley-proof state.
In beta, yeah. How many dealers, individual dealers, do you have? And if the figure's available, how many books total are online right now?
Yeah, again, we're in the infancy stage. We've got about 10 to 12 dealers. What really thrills me is just the depth and the quality of the dealers we have and of the books that they're selling. We've got dealers from the US, from the UK, from the Netherlands, from Australia.
Wow.
We've got all the professional book dealers represented. The APA, APAA, iLab, and the ANZAAB. I'm not quite sure what the
Australian or something.
Yeah. So we've got all of those groups represented. At this point, we've probably got about 150 books on the site. And so, you said beta, right? We're obviously very much, in the infancy. But, we've got, like I said, we've got global reach. We have phenomenal dealers, and they have really exciting books. We've got a Jack London signed manuscript
That's what I was going to ask you. What are some of the
Yeah.
highlights? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got the original program from the first performance of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, right? We've got signed books by the economist J.R. Hicks, by Howard Thurman. We've got great science fiction. We've got trying to think what else.
Well, let me check.
Some wonderful art, wonderful art books. Really just really terrific representation across a variety of rare books.
I want to sign up for the program. What is it that I would be doing? I would be basically sending you images and descriptions, and you would be loading them onto the site.
It's a little more,
go ahead.
Sorry, it's a little more self-service than that. So the first thing you do is reach out to me, and I'd send you a registration link, and then the dealer would fill in all of the information about their business, at their logo, their specialties, give a description of the business, and then the dealer can be adding their own books, right? With the usual bibliographic details, title, author, etc. Give a full description, add images just via drag and drop, save, and it's automatically posted to the site.
What's the fee structure like?
Yeah, so everything is free until mid-February of 26, right? Really interested in, I want to make this a service that is really valuable for booksellers. I'm happy to talk about what their needs are and how this business suits them. But it's really about supporting booksellers, giving value to booksellers. We're not a commission. We're not sales commissions. We don't have high listing fees. We do have pretty modest subscription fees. But the reason why we're sort of free through mid-February is we want to align value and cost. Right? We understand we're a new business. We don't have this huge, robust network of collectors yet.
Yet,
right? And so, we want to sort of make sure that, that dealers aren't paying ahead of the value, right? We want to time the value and the cost. And so, we think it's going to take a little bit of time to build up that collector base. And in the meantime, we don't want dealers to be paying costs. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So as I said, sorry, I just want to finish up with your question about what the fees were. So it's free through mid-February. And after that, it's depending on whether there's two different levels. A dealer can list a dozen books or 24 books. If they list a dozen, it's $35 a month, and for 24, it's $45 a month.
Okay. There was a suggestion. And I'll continue it on the other side. We've got to hit a break in 41 seconds. You should promote this in Vintage Rare Antique Books and a few other places that we'll talk about when you come back. You should design something for Facebook, about the site, however you would want to make a publicity thing out of it. Send it to Vintage Rare Antique Books. I'll make sure it goes in. I can also suggest, like, if you look at what I did with the show today, I shared it in 19 different groups. A couple of the groups I know would welcome you. I'm not sure everyone is, totally user friendly. They are to us because, we work together. But I will, I'll talk to you about that when we come back from break.
Wonderful. Thank you.
We'll be back after these commercial words.
All right.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. WDBFradio.com. WDBFradio.com. WDBFradio.com.
Welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf with your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein. Steve the Bookman Eisenstein has been involved in buying, selling, and appraisals of rare books since 1968. This show has been designed with making money for the listeners in mind. More people know the value of coins, stamps, objects of art, and collectibles they do not own than the values of the books in their home library shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Who sold the Book of Love? That should be the words in that song. Who sold the Book of Love? By the Monotones, by the way. Welcome back, book lovers. We are talking book selling with Andrew Nottman. You can see what we are talking about by going to Andrew's website, The Rare Book Room. One word, therarebookroom.com. So while you're looking at it, we're going to do some more talking about it. That's 888-575-4394. If you have questions for us live on the show right now, 888-575-4394. And as obligated by law, no, I'm only joking about that, we are going to answer the trivia contest question because nobody did. What's worth more? A functioning 18-karat solid gold toilet that weighs 100 kilos at $4,000 an ounce, or a 10.8 carat flawless pink diamond? The diamond wins every time. Okay. $20 million is the pre-auction estimate on the diamond. Like I said, sometimes the contradictions in prices are really weird. So, Andrew, suggestion to you, and then pick it up from wherever you want to go with it. I wrote a couple of sites down on some notes. Okay, first of all, you mentioned something about worldwide. Our show is worldwide, and we've got a good audience in Australia. There is a listener, a member of VRAB. She, we're good friends on Facebook. I'd love to meet her one day. Her name is Andrea Boltrez, Boltrez. I'm going to pat myself on the back. We were having a, discussion one night on Messenger about how do I get more publicity, and I said it's easy. There's got to be a magazine in Australia called Antiques Around Australia or something like that. Pitch them to write an ABC article on how to identify and sell collectible books. She called them up. She's now on the staff writing for them. Okay, I think if you talk to her, you could get a mention, maybe it's even worth taking an advertisement out in the magazine, but for sure you can talk to her about that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And if you don't know these groups, they're very, very user friendly. One of them is called Talking Antiques. Feel free to use me as a referral, in that. There's over 70,000 members in that group. Club 30 International is another one, very large numbers of people growing constantly, and they're all over Europe. Talking Antiques is international. Club 30 is more European, but he comes in country every once in a while. And then the other one is Bookstore Tourism. I think they would welcome you. And if I think of any others, I'm sure I can. It's just, on air, I can't pull them all up in my head. But those groups, I think, would welcome you. And
I appreciate that, Steve.
Yeah, I think you do very well in those. If it means anything, when Lowell Thing was on this show about 2 years ago, he sold 23 copies of a $50 book during the show. What you have has got a wider appeal. Sorry, not everybody loves Margaret Armstrong bindings, although they're gorgeous. So I'm kind of hoping for you.
Thank you.
Sure. So now that we know the diamond ring is worth more than the toilet, take it from there.
Yeah, so I don't know what aspect you want me to be talking about, but one thing I
Anything,
really,
anything. You
okay,
know more
so
about it than I do.
yeah, so let me talk a little bit about sort of how how the business came about,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Um, so really the an exhibitor on our site paid us what I think is like the ultimate compliment, and that is the we've created something that supports the best interests of both collectors and buyers. Sorry, collectors and collectors. Oh, collectors and
I know
dealers.
what you mean. I know
Yep,
what you mean.
collectors and dealers, right? So I talked a little bit earlier about as a collector, right? Just how difficult it is to browse and have that online serendipity, right? And another challenge is scale, right? There's I talk about the volume of volumes, right? The volume of volumes that is available, online, makes it almost impenetrable, right? And the only way we as collectors can really then go get into, right, and is through advanced search, right? That really then requires us to know exactly what it is that we're looking for. Which, if you think about it, right? I mean, think about the collected works of humanity, right? It's a pretty limiting way to think about, finding something, right? You know exactly what it is, right? Um, so the Red Book Room was really created for collectors to stumble across something that they didn't know existed, and all of a sudden they find they just can't live without. Right? Um, Go ahead. Sorry, did you want to?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's genius because one of the things that, in my opinion, correct me if you don't agree, when eBay started out, what did you have? You had 11 choices of categories, and one of them was high school yearbooks. Thank you, eBay, for making them popular as they are today. And almost any
Mm-hmm.
yearbook will have a market somewhere. But I literally once sent them a copy of the AB annual. So they got the understanding that when you see the subject American Indians, they must have had 25, 30 subheadings for American
Mm-hmm.
Indians and all of that.
Yeah.
So from what I'm picking up on what you're saying, that I'm saying is kind of genius, is you're going back to, okay, I want something on a subject that has a name. So you put in that subject in your search bar, and everything online that you have within that subject matter comes up to you.
Yeah,
Correct?
absolutely, absolutely. So somebody can search by category. So every book probably has is tagged to multiple categories, right? So categories being a subject area, right? So if you're interested in science, if you're interested in theater, if you're interested in dance, if you're interested in music, right? The books are tagged to that. You just easily browse, right? So you don't have to know author title. You could be looking in a category area, but there's also the hey, I just want to learn about areas I don't typically know about, and I just kind of want to make it easy to see what's new, what's come in, right? What's out there that I didn't, as a collector, didn't know existed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We want to make we want to make that easy also, right? So you can
Well, is
search
there
by
going to
new
be
arrivals.
is there going to be like uh, besides the selling, are you going to do any type of info stuff like, there's going to be a place maybe one day where we're going to have a discussion or,
Mhm.
something on a
Yeah,
specific topic or how to identify publishers? I mean, well, no, in your case, you wouldn't need that because you're dealing with advanced, you
yeah.
know, but, would you have anything that would be seminar like on there?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think there's all kinds of opportunities for us to build out over time. Right now, we're inviting dealers to submit their ideas for blogs, right? And so there's an article that I actually wrote on the site about whether it's better to have a book signed or inscribed, right? That's something
Ooh, okay.
that's it's it's a question that no one asked, right? 30, 40 years ago, it used to be right self-evident, right? The more words, the better. But that's not what prevailing trend is now, right?
No. Oh,
And
God,
right,
yeah.
and so I, there's there's an article sort of talking about one person's opinion, right? Because this is ultimately this opinion based, but one person's opinion as to what signed books are better than inscribed books, and which inscribed books are better than signed books, right? So kind of,
There's a lot of
it's not a yes or
variables.
no.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, it's not a yes
variables
or
in
no.
that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we absolutely want to promote learning. We want to promote education, information, and we'll do that through dealer blogs, right? Today, and over time, I love your idea about having some kind of seminars. I could see us having video links, right?
Yeah, guest speakers amongst
To
your
speakers,
clients,
etc. Yeah, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
I had another really, oh yeah, okay. You said 20, 30 years ago. I recently picked up a great stamp collection. So what I learned right away was forget everything you ever knew about stamps because there are categories in the new Scott's catalogs that weren't in all hinged, unhinged, licked, not
Right.
licked, yeah. And I guess in some ways is an old timer. When Max comes on in a few minutes,
Mm-hmm.
what he is showing me is there's a whole new market of book buyers out there that what they're buying is beyond comprehension in some ways, but yet they're buying and selling them. I mean, I told you earlier the sound check. It shocked me. What would you charge for a Knickerbocker Press Shakespeare that it was far from pristine and maybe even falling apart? It wouldn't go from what, $5, $7, oh, your kid likes it, here it is.
Yeah.
He's got people scarfing them up. I mean,
Good for him.
other
That's
things.
great.
Yeah, no, I know,
Yeah.
but what he told me in a way was similar to the stamp thing. With the brand new ones, the new sellers that have been added for the last 2 or 3 years that have degrees in a degree of credibility, capability in buying and reselling books, period. This new crowd is buying and successfully reselling stuff that we as old timers wouldn't even think about today. So yeah, and the other thing I'd love to talk about is a little bit of the old time attitudes back in the 1970s when I was on Long Island, using the
Mm-hmm.
word seminar. I won't say your dad was one of the ones, but every other book dealer that he knew, I could mention names, wanted to perform a second religious operation on me when I was doing seminars at every library on Long Island. When my sister passed away, I was in New York for about just a little under 3 years. I literally did seminars in almost every library in Nassau and Suffolk County. And Jimmy and Harvey would goof on me and say, man, people are really not liking that you're doing these seminars. You're giving, what is this? The Shaolin Temple and I'm crushing rice paper or something, But that was the attitude back then. It was very, very different.
Yeah.
When we come back, we got about 50 seconds in this. When we come back, after Max comes on and we will get to know each other in the next segment, love to talk about some of the nostalgia. If you've got some, incidents in mind, dad came home one day and said, honey, we're buying a new car. I found this book, those kind of stories, would be
Sure.
fun. Well, no, let me hold on for that for another minute. Remember, if there's a book fair in your area, and there almost always is one going on somewhere every week around the country, you definitely want to go to an antiquarian book fair. It's no better one-stop shop to learn stuff, period.
100%. Yep.
We'll be back after these commercial words.